The Santa Clauses. Season 1, apparently, because I just found out they're making a season 2 of this. Bad idea. This series shows why Hollywood just needs to leave old franchises alone. Nostalgia pandering. Rewriting of rules and adding new ones. Disregard of what came before. It's a mess. So the Santa Clauses starts off with Mr. Outdoor Man himself. Or would you prefer Toolman Taylor? Anyway, realizing that Christmas and its magic is not quite working well anymore, to the point where he can't use his magic. His magic fails him at times. So he decides that since he's 65 years old now, it's time to retire. He's obviously not able to do this anymore. We spend the next 2 episodes finding Santa Claus's replacement. And wouldn't you know it, they find the replacement. It's the one doctor guy from House that replaced the Better team. So Outdoor Man just hands him his code and boom, that's it. Until about an episode later when elves start disappearing because they're losing their Christmas spirit. Even though in Santa Clauses 2 and 3, they seemed like they had given up quite a bit of hope, especially in 3. But apparently they weren't hopeless enough to give up. So Outdoor Man figures out that after being visited by the ghosts of Santa's past, that he was the first ever human to become Santa Claus. Which throws in a whole bunch of questions. The biggest one I have is, why is there so many of them? If they were literally created to become Santa Claus, because one of them gave up and just didn't want to go. I don't know. It's a convoluted backstory of Santa's. Anyway, Outdoor Man was the first human to ever pick up the code and become Santa Claus. And the reason he was having so much trouble was because people's Christmas spirit is vanishing, and it's a normal thing. It happened to every other Santa in existence. Now we have to go back to the North Pole and we have to fight Dr. Dictator now in order to reestablish Outdoor Man as Santa Claus once. The first thing I'm going to address in this is the pacing, because it's absolutely awful. The first episode is, it's the pilot. It sets up everything. But the next 2 episodes after that, we spend him trying to find his replacement, basically. So we are halfway through this series before we actually get to the real, meat and bones of why we're here. And then, of course, the next 2 episodes after that spans the entire course of the year as Dr. Dictator takes over the North Pole, turning it into Amazon Prime Ultra. It's literally what he uses. So he uses the vast resources and magic of the North Pole to turn it into better Amazon. Great vision, man. Anyway. The pacing in this is a little jarring. I do have to mention this. Carol Claus. From Santa Claus 2, the big, tough principal with a soft side for Christmas. That lady? She's become a whiny toddler. Just whining about what seems to be pointless things. In the very first episode, she lays out everything she's, upset about. She's upset about her hair because it has to be in the old grandma bun. For what reason? I have no idea, and I went back, I watched Santa Claus 2 and 3 because of this. Because I had trouble believing this. She complained because her hair is supposed to be up in a bun. She can't let her hair down out of the grandma bun. Even though in Santa Claus 3, when she's up at the North Pole and with Santa Claus, she's got her hair down. Like, it's not completely down, like she's got like a little dew or something with it, but it looks like she was able to do it the way she wanted to. It's all kind of festive for Christmas, Like, I don't understand. She complains about is she picks up a tin of cookies and she looks at the picture and she's like, why is Mrs. Claus always represented by a fat grandma. That's what the thing on the tin looks like, which fine, fair point, whatever. But your husband, Santa Claus himself, has magic coursing through his veins to make him fat and jolly. You are getting the better deal here. If you want yourself portrayed accurately, Miss Carol Claus, you can have the same magic coursing through you so you look the part like your husband does. Problem solved, but that's not what she really means. And then the last thing is the fact that nobody around there calls her Carol, only calls her Mrs. Claus. Even though in the third Santa Claus, she was called Carol multiple times throughout the movie. Why did they do her so dirty? The worst part about this is when they finally go out into the real world and they have to come up with a cover story because, they can't tell anybody that my dad or my husband is Santa Claus or was Santa Claus. So they decide that they're going to be like a bush pilot, right? Only Outdoor Man isn't going to be the bush pilot. It's Carol. Carol's going to be the bush pilot. For what reason? I have no idea. Has she ever flown in the sleigh before? I have no idea. I'd have to assume not, because I've never seen her in the sleigh. Anyway, so then she catches up with all of her old friends, which is fine, that's all sweet and nice. But they offer her a principal position in a new school they're building. So to these people, this lady was a principal, became a bush pilot, and then 32 years after becoming a bush pilot, they're going to make her a principal again, even though it's been 32 years, and I'm pretty sure her credentials aren't up to date at this point. Outdoor Man takes a backseat to his own story. There's so much going on. We have to introduce the fact that Dr. Dictator himself is causing all the elves to vanish. We have to characterize both of the children. And we have to, of course, give Mrs. Carol Claus her screen time to show that she's a strong, independent woman, not that old, dumpy housewife. Oh, this show. I haven't even talked about the Christmas Witch. Yeah, you're from what, Germany? Is that what she's from? But she lives in an old shack in the woods. She's just there, honestly. Now, let me talk about Dr. Dictator a little bit, since he is the big driving force behind this entire thing. He's a tech guy that started a business. It sounds like an Amazon type thing, but he is having issues getting all of the product he has delivered. But it doesn't work. He gets fired. Luckily enough, they become Santa Claus. A little bit later on, we find out why he's so determined. It's because his wife died of cancer or some, unspecified disease, and he needs to provide for his daughter, even though she's already provided for now at the North Pole. So he is 100% provided for at the North Pole, him and his daughter. There's no reason for him to create Amazon Prime Ultra. No, it's Christmas every day for everybody. You can get whatever you want whenever you want, which isn't how Christmas works. Anyway, at the end of the day, this is about finding out that family is important to people. This is a movie about finding your Christmas spirit again. And frankly, I just think Arthur Christmas did it a lot better. So skip this, save yourself an extra hour and a half, and go watch Arthur Christmas for the 90th time like I did after I finished this series. Is there anything else I want to talk about? Honestly, there's a lot more, but I think I better leave it there. Otherwise, I'm going to be here all day. Nostalgia. All the Santas that came before him were created out of nature, basically, which makes me question, is So did Mother Nature have a hand in making these? Or, this is about family is important to people because Outdoor Man has been Santa for so long and hasn't really been able to be there for his family, even though I thought he learned this lesson in Santa Claus 3.